Hello and welcome to another edition of Wake Up to Your Life Magic. My name is Dr. Helmut Lucero Love, and I'm so glad you could join me for another opportunity to have conversations we're not having in leadership. I will remind you, you can check out wakeuptoyourlifemagic.com, learn more about the book, and more resources to support you in the journey. Today, I have with me a very special guest, Craig Cooper. Craig, how are you, sir?
I am above ground and breathing. Thanks for
Above
asking.
ground and yes, okay. and
Yes.
you live in on the West Coast, don't you? Here in the U.S.
Yes, sir. I'm in California.
Beautiful. Well, Atlanta says hi to California, and today I want to start off by just saying what do you do? Who do you serve? Who, as our listeners listen in, what can they get a sense of what you create in the world?
This is amazing. And actually, it's twofold. On the one hand, you met me through my coaching, Common Sense Revenue, but that all started from my deep, deep desire to kill diets. Yes, I said kill diets. The root word in diet is die. Nobody wants to do that, which is why diets don't work. And so, as a caterer, my mission is to provide amazing food so people keep coming back, right? And so, started a catering business with my wife 14 years ago. Did very well, so well that it can like run without me. Yay, I done made it. And now I'm using what I learned from the catering business to help other business owners, right? I'd like to say get off the field and into the owner's box.
Awesome. And that's at commonsenserevenue.com, correct?
That's it.
Awesome. Well, hey, so tell me a little bit. So you've gone from actually being in the field to the owner's box, so to speak,
Yes.
yourself. So this is the journey you recreate for people.
Yes.
Tell me a story about a change, a shift in your life, and the purpose really just being that people get better insight into your story, a better insight into your leadership, and who you are as a brand, Craig.
Oh, so many directions to go from that. Great question. Okay, I'll start with the shift story, right? I won't start at the beginning. Everybody starts at the beginning. Let's start in the middle. So, in the middle, about a year or 2 years in, we was working 17, 21 days straight, right? No days off. It was like rinse and repeat. Every day was Groundhog Day. Get up, do the thing, shop, put things away, go to bed, do it again, like for more than too long, right? And for me, my parents made sure I didn't get a doctorate. Respect, sir. But I do have a master's in common sense. That was for the birds. I'm not working every day nonstop, calling myself an owner and a lightweight intern. Man, forget that. So the stress of that made me really look at what I was doing and recognize this is not sustainable. I mean, in the grand
Mm-hmm.
scheme, owners become owners. You quit your job so you can have freedom. But then once you quit your job, you end up recreating not just a job, but a lightweight prison because you don't have the systems in place and you don't have operations and you don't have the people that are empowered to make decisions. So you don't have to touch every decision, right? And that's why I go back to the field. Basically, as the business owner, I was the quarterback on the field and had to touch the ball for every play. Man, it's nuts. There's other people on here and I'm paying them. Why am I making all the decisions? So anyway, I digress. The point of the story is trying to figure out how to get out, step out. You're hiring people, how do I build them up so they can take on more of the load? Many hands make light work. So I don't have to. Was able to get to the sideline, right? Coach, they're doing more of the work, and then kept doing the same until the point we got a coach so I can get off the field altogether. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's a big deal, though. I mean, what that evolution, because it feels so familiar. It feels so familiar, right? You're in it, you're making it happen, you're running your business, you're hands-on, you associate. I think a lot of us go through this. You associate the quality of your work being what's creating everything.
Yes.
And you have to start to realize that those things are doable by others and you are replaceable.
100%.
And you want to be replaced. Beautiful. And so you created an entire business built around that concept.
Yes.
Which is great. So tell me about the vision you have for others, as you're kind of thinking 5-10 years, as you've done more of this in the world, what is it that you're really creating, wanting to create
That's
for your work?
Beautiful question. Love that. So for me, what I'm creating for my work is Well, I have to go back in the past a bit, almost literally 5 years. The flu apocalypse of 2020 impacted so many of my friends and compatriots in the food space. I didn't go to culinary school, so I learned on the fly. And a lot that I learned from my shared kitchen with the other foodpreneurs that were in the space. They taught me so much about food.
Mhm.
And I tried to, share some of my nuggets around business. All of them didn't take heed, right? And so there were 16 of us in that kitchen. And of those 16 businesses today, only three are still viable. Everybody
Wow.
else shut their doors. And that really bothered me. Still bothers me today. It's a crawl. And so my mission now moving forward, never again. So everything that I learned is able to be successful. I'm sharing with others so they too can be successful and not be dependent upon the random government handouts, which you may or probably won't get. That you're not dependent upon somebody to come save you, recognizing that you are the masters of your own destiny. And it's so much simpler than we would be led to believe, right? We weren't trained in business when we went to high school and barely trained to be business when we went to college. Largely, high school makes you an employee, college makes you a manager, typically middle manager, right? You got to get masters to get up into the C-suite. But even all of that doesn't teach you how to be an entrepreneur. There's so much that's left out. And because I was able to take that path, much like Harriet Tubman, I'm here to help everybody get free that wants to get free.
Look at you quoting Harriet Tubman, but it's true. It's interesting. So, in the book Wake Up to Your Life Magic, I discuss the concept of creator being leadership. So the real challenge we have in our society is we are taught a Western Prussian model,
Hmm.
right, of education.
Yes.
I don't remember if we chatted about that, Craig, a little bit in our pre-interview, but this concept that we work for someone as a member of the military, of the factory, of the corporation. There are certain things about that are
Mhm.
stagnating about us, meaning we believe things like we need outside approval, we need outside validation, we are not capable, we can't be sales and service and support, and we can't, but when reality is we can. We are fully equipped, and we're going through a pretty significant shift that is going to be required of us with the entree of AI. For so many people, they are now going to have to basically completely learn an entirely new way of thinking.
100%. 100%. And I love that we're actually putting the rat on the table, so to speak. The reality is, imposter syndrome is a lie. It's not, if we are the only us ever in history, and we are, the miracle that was our two parents coming together, producing us, miracle. The education, passions, talents we have, miracle. So we are the only ones that are ever going to be us. Fact. Therefore, how can I be an imposter? I'm the only original, authentic one, right? So, and I'm not egotistical. I just, believe this wholeheartedly. I stand on it. Everybody's special. And as we're special, we have unique gifts. And those unique gifts are going to allow us to be more than what the system wants us to be. And I call the system the matrix. The system wants us to keep the matrix running because that's how the matrix makes money. That's how the matrix maintains its power and its authority and its existence. However, when we take the red pill, when we get enlightened to the greatness that is within us, and we focus that energy, intention, attention, results. Our body, emotion, states, emotion, equal act. Every action produces an equal and opposite reaction. Like we know this stuff, but we're trying to jet our mind trick to forget it. Man, we are amazing. Do you? Nobody else can.
Yeah, that's the red pill. I love the because it's all true. You know, because I do think an on fire purpose
Mm.
is worth so much money, not because it is um, because not just because it's on fire and not because it's a purpose, but because ultimately there are people that you're serving in that purpose that are going to who are going to bring that money. And I think we don't get into that stuff. We don't get into those deeper things, which is really a great topic for our next question here. Um, Wake Up to Your Life Magic is a book about spiritual awakening, about asking ourselves what is the moral, ethical, loving, and connected leadership that we need in an era of AI, in an era that we're stepping into. Things are shifting. Many are afraid. And we know fear travels fast, love moves slower, but is far stronger. So I'm curious, Craig, your thoughts about leadership in those dimensions at this time in our history.
These are, again, these are amazing questions. Like, no smoke. I'm loving this conversation. Okay, leadership in this time in the face of our AI and how we maintain our humanity with a spiritual basis, right? Everything in our DNA as humans is about community. We're not designed or wired to be alone. It's all about community. So there's an aspect of maintaining community which is important to us. For me, with work, and the foundation starts with even the book Gung Ho, right? Three principles, very simple: spirit of the squirrel, way of the beaver, gift of the goose. Spirit of the squirrel. How is your job benefiting society? Or why is what you do worthwhile work? When you tap into that, that releases your intrinsic motivation. So I'm not relying on somebody else to motivate me. I'm not relying on somebody else's approval of what I do because I know within me, what I'm doing is important and I can do it to my full. It unleashes my potential. The way of the beaver, I know what I need to do. You never see beavers moving sticks. They'll put that stick there. Know where she go. They don't do that. They all know what the dam's supposed to look like. They put the sticks there and they just keep working. And to get to the goose, as geese fly south for the winter, you hear them honking nonstop. One falls out of leading position, another steps forward. And that's because they're constantly encouraging one another. So they're always celebrating the wins. I've never seen a game or been to a game where you didn't cheer the whole game long. Every good thing you said, yay. Every bad thing you said, boo, ref, you suck, right? Well, why in business do we only wait until the Q1 reports or the end of year to say, yay, we hit our sales goal? Man, I've been working hard for 364 days. You better look. I'm not just coming here for a check, right? So that aspect of humanity is important because people don't just go to work just to get a check. I'm there. I'm at work more than with my family. So how is it? How is the culture of the place? Fulfill me. How does it unleash my potential? How can I bring my full self to work and do what I do, utilize my gifts, and be appreciated? That changes things, right? And so when the leaders tap into this and allow the team members to be their full selves, you achieve so much more. And I know it's scary now. AI, ooh, what's up? Skynet's coming to take our jobs. All AI is not bad. Let me rephrase it the way I usually say it. All AI ain't bad. Like, I'm gonna keep it 100. It's not. You know why I say that? R2D2. Everybody loved R2D2. R2D2 was
Till, till he takes your job, Craig.
He ain't take my job. R2D2 never flew the X-wing fighter.
Right.
He never was driving the ship. He never was fighting one-on-one with Darth Vader. He was
Never.
support in the background. Hey, I know what they're supposed to do if you keep them in their place. I'm just saying. So if you're not afraid of R2D2, get yourself a nice little trash can, train it with your LLM, so tap into your brain, so it can support you as you make the world a better place. Because the empire must come down, and the empire is the matrix. That's all I got to say about that.
Okay, so the empire must come down, you say, and and I have a different words. I call it shifting the empire, right? So I don't think that anything we have. It's hard because we look at the current models of what we have, and we're like, we got to scrap it, we got to move it, and it's going to shift, right? It's because we still need conglomerated corporations to do complex things that we can't do on our own. But I think what you really brought up, which is really powerful, was a couple of things, right? So purpose, right? The purpose of the person, that the work that I do is meaningful, important. You call it the squirrel, right?
Right.
That is ultimately, it is a personal spirituality. It's a personal connection, right? To this is what I'm here for.
Yes.
And it is in your DNA. It's in my DNA. It's in our listeners' DNA. And if you don't know your purpose, you can contact either one of us. We'll help you with that.
Yes.
The second area, what you mentioned, was the knowing, the doing, the getting it done, the work hard, which I call it it's the doing energy, right? The being, the doing and the being together, where you're actually making it happen and you're not lazy and you're not tired and worn out. right? You got to work.
Right.
And the last one though is the celebration is love. It's a sort of like loving each other. So you said that we're not meant to be alone. And I think that that concept that we're an organism, right? Like we're
Yes.
all born with our own DNA, but we're all connected. Like literally, we say that like, oh, we're all connected, like cute, like, oh, cute.
No,
But we don't really sit and think like literally we're connected.
yes.
Our energy flows from one to another. Right. And so, what do you think of the current state in which we're so divided? I would say some of the most divided times, which is almost like um, ironic, right? It's ironic that we've come together from all the nations into one nation, right?
Yes.
All colors,
Right.
races, thoughts, etc. And in this present moment, we're more divided than ever. How do you think that's working? And what is that doing for us as a consciousness? How is that working for the organism? And why? I'm curious about your thoughts on this topic.
This is profound. And let me, and I'm loving this conversation. The concept of the United States of America, and that it could be a place where all nations can come together. And all nations could come together not because of race, not because of finances, but they're brought together by culture and laws. Everybody's connected by through that. And as you said, this is a time where everything is divided, right? But I also believe that the division gives an opportunity for unity. The more things are separated, pushed apart, the more things are pushed apart, the more every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The harder you push them apart, the more they want to come together. So the times are driving people together. People are looking for community. They're looking for family, looking for belonging. They're looking for team because this action is so strong. There's a resistance which is just as strong to come together, and that's inevitable, right? It is. We've seen it over and over again in time, and so I 100% believe that. Like, 100% believe that that's what's going to happen. But at the same time, because of what we see, it can cause great despair in seeing the pushing apart and division. And this has always been the case from the standpoint of there are haves and have-nots. We refer to the 1%, or some call it the Illuminati or the cabal or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, there are the haves and the have-nots. And the have-nots are constantly divided and separated, so much so that they're focusing on one another and what's being done, as opposed to working together to make things better, taking ownership of their existence. It's the triangle, right? You have heroes, villains, and victims. We tend to fall into the victim category. Something happens, I'm a victim. Somebody did it, they're the villain, and we're looking for a hero to come save us because we're talking from childhood. I mean, if you watch any of the Disney movies, all the songs, "Someday my prince lies," he ain't coming. He ain't coming. You better figure out your own life. I'm just saying, you got to own your outcomes. But the more it was to do that, right? Look at the civil rights movement. They own their outcomes. This is not going to change unless we change it. Civil rights movement. ERA now. This is not going to change unless we change it. Civil War. This is not going to change unless we change it. The Revolutionary War. They're taxing us. We don't get no say. This is not going to change unless we change it, right? So there's always a requirement and a ownership of our own existence where we have to own it and not expect others to take the leadership. We have to lead ourselves, then a group of leaders will come together, and then this action will get crushed by the tide of everybody coming back together.
Interesting. I think, first of all, you're 100% correct. I sit back and I think about this is a process we just didn't understand would be required.
Right.
Right. I also think it's the force of bringing all cultures and all human kind of ways of being together, and we're asking ourselves certain questions, right? So like you think about like this, just I'm being super generic, right? Male versus female leadership, right? Black versus white, both excellent, both very different, right? One is keeping the system, one is questioning the system. Really important energies, right? And both excellent. So like, and then you've got, gay and Christian,
Mhm.
right? Sort of like hurt by the system, right, of religions and pushing away from them, right? Keeping the systems of religions and maintaining them, right? And
Okay.
so we're just separated into all these,
Right.
and ultimately, I do believe that we will come back to one. Um, it is going to take transformation. A lot of us are going to have to change the way we feel about us to understand that we're part of a whole. Um, yeah.
Yes.
And we are not the victims, we're actually the heroes. Every person's their own hero.
Every person's the hero of their own story.
Yes.
You're not the victim of your own story. You're the hero of your own story. And until you can rewrite that narrative in your own mind, you can't flip the outcome. And even though, again, from childhood, we're always reading the stories and we're always seeing the movies and we always gravitate to the underdog and whatnot, not realizing that those messages are there for us to encourage us to own our own life. Right now, true, we're all part of the whole. There's no man is an island, yada yada yada. We're all part of the main. But in your own individual life, at the end of it, there's only one person in your casket, you, right? And so at the end of when you're in your casket, you want to be able to look back and say, I am happy with everything that I've done. I'm content with the outcomes I've made and the impact that I've had upon society as a whole. You're there by yourself. And because my parents taught me about the Nuremberg trials, you cannot rely or lean on other people saying, I was just following orders. Yeah, that don't watch, right? Because everyone said they were following orders, still swung from the gallows. There's no excuses. Excuses are only good for those who make them. Own your life, live it to its fullest, make each day your masterpiece.
Yeah, interesting. I agree with all of that. I will say that for me, the older I get, the more I realize that um, I'm going to use the term as Native American, the Great Spirit,
Mm.
right? Um, you come to understand more and more that you are a spiritual being in a human form. Like we talk about the Matrix, right? I feel like I've been dropped into the Helmut life, right? I chose, and I do feel very so responsible. I chose to be married to my not to be married, to be born to my parents somehow. Like that's how what came up, right?
Mm.
And I've chosen this life, and Craig, you've chosen yours. But we're creating the one that we're actually going to have and experience. But the more and more I realize I'm spiritual, the more and more I go, well, where have all the other spirits gone? How are we all connected? What about that is the connection that we all sense? Um, and if you do believe in a great spirit, whatever that is, whatever your form or name, um, then you kind of are on the journey the whole time with a consciousness besides yourself, right? So you're alone, but you're not. So you do have a support system is my only point, which you realize, because it can be overwhelming when you're really, if you really, really feel alone, if you always know that you're never alone, even there's peace in that, right? Because let's be honest, standing up in front of I'll use an example, right? I had a company, it was being run terribly. It was some horrible situation. And no one had the guts to be honest. Right. And by being honest, I was told once that by saying you have to do your job, you must be willing to lose your job. And so
Mm.
I said the truth, knowing I would be I'd be gone. But you don't feel bad if you don't feel like that's your whole life, right? I have
Yeah.
a higher calling or a bigger purpose than just this corporation.
And that that part, and I commend you for standing up. So many of us have been conditioned to not stand up, right? And to accept status quo. That going back to elementary school all the way through high school, like don't stand up, teacher's talking, follow the rules, bell, move, right? But to be able to have the courage to have the chutzpah to
Yeah,
recognize,
yeah,
no, that's not right. Because ultimately, in the grand scheme, we are working to live. We don't live to work. That's out of alignment. And even with our spiritual selves, because 100% we are absolutely a spiritual being trapped in a physical body. And everything that happens in this world is because of a creator. I believe that wholeheartedly. Matter of fact, let me rephrase that. I know that. That's facts. And there are many things that connect to us from a spiritual level that connect us to the creator. Why do people go on hikes? Why do people sit at the beach and want to be in the water? Why is it you can sit and listen to music and it will change your entire mentality? Because these all elements have an ability to step into an invisible world and connect us with it. The spirituality of that connects to us. It's not by mistake. But the beauty is that, in my belief, that we are given the choice to choose. That's why we're here. God, and I use the word, hope nobody's offended. God does not have puppets. He created all of us to be free moral agents. We can choose whatever we want to do. The choice is ours at the end of our day, right? Now he rewards you if you choose him, but if you don't, you had your life. Do you, right? That's amazing. But he leaves little breadcrumbs all along the way so that when we get stressed out, overwhelmed, despondent, hurt, wounded, we know how to get back to him so that we can, I don't know, get recharged because life will suck the life out of you if you let it. When we
Yeah.
connect to an energy that's beyond you, that can replenish that energy in you, you can make it through another day. And then you wake up, I'm above ground and breathing. It ain't so bad.
I would actually, so this is, I'm going to take what you're saying and be a little bit more aggressive in that I believe that our source is loving. And I believe that if you look over humanity, like just do the comparison. We're having this amazing conversation. Two people who would have probably never even been allowed to talk, right? Or maybe even exist, okay? In our societies or in very different ways are now elevated enough that they can have this dialogue to begin with. So we're the most loved generation, and we're seeing people go through dramatic shifts in the way that they're waking up to who they are. They are waking up to there is a matrix, but I am a creator being in that matrix. I am. And as we do that, and as we heal traumas and we stop believing lies, we're actually fulfilling the dream of the creator. If you think about it, the creator's like, yeah, this is the part. This is the part where you all start to realize the purpose and the reason. And so it's my prayer, like, as we're forced to look at this AI beast and the fear of ourselves in it, right? And this great division, it's really that awareness and awakening that would bring people back together. It's something deeply spiritual. So, yeah, that's my thought process today.
And I appreciate that. Right? And and the beauty of thought process, we continue to grow and evolve as we get more inputs, right? And data.
Yeah, you're an input, Craig.
so this is great. And I just like to add a little bit more to that thought,
Please,
right?
yeah.
Because on the one side, and I'll just be 100% honest for everybody here. I'm a Christian. I follow as closely as possible to what I see in the Bible, right? And yes, love is 100% in there. But also there's an empowerment. We make decisions, but God also makes decisions, right? That's all judgment is. It's a final decision, right? We made the judgment to be on this call today. So it's a decision. That's all it is. Sometimes we make the language harder than it needs, more harsh than it needs to be. But I said all that to say, in that coming together or the spiritual side, there's always two sides, right? I was recently working with some musicians that don't read music. I was fortunate as a musician. I was brought up reading music, blah, 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 my minor in college, yada, yada, yada. But everybody doesn't read music. But it's hard to connect. But because we were in a church context, I used the example of the Tower of Babel. So those not familiar, it's about the 10th chapter of Genesis. Right after the flood, people said, you ain't gonna drown us no more. We're gonna build a tower. Because you're gonna drown us, we're gonna serve this tower, blah, blah, blah. They started building. God said, what are they doing? No, confused languages. That's the gist of the story. Two things happen from that. Number one, you can't build if you don't have one language. That was the message in the chapter. But on the flip side, the other side of the coin, well, if you have one language, you can build, right? So I said there's always two sides of the coin. So for this conversation, in that coming together, everything's pushed apart to force things together. Coming together is inevitable, but we also want to be wise in how we come together, because all coming togethers aren't good. World War II, not just because the Allies won the war, but generally what the Axis was doing wasn't cool. But they were together. What they were together and what they were doing. Totalitarian government, fascist states, people don't have a voice, and because of that, they otherize people. We know about what they did to the Jews and Jews, homosexuals, black, everybody. They otherized everybody based on a look. And because they were otherized, it's easy to do them wrong. And that's why we had concentration camps, which is it actually happened, right? So there's a danger in coming together if you're not coming together on the right things, right? So there's principles and basic humanity. We have to be on the same page. But if we're not, yeah, miss me, I'm grown. Because my parents made sure I knew about the Nuremberg trials.
Yeah. So man, I love this. I'm gonna go one more step because this is a big part of the book, actually. So I do believe that we're in the modern day Tower of Babel, and it was also very clear that God said to them that if they had come together in His name, right, they would have been fine. And that's why I say that the name of the Creator, the name of the Spirit, is love, because I do believe that the Father, like the Rainbow Covenant, where He says that I will never destroy the earth again for its wickedness, right? Which means that the world will be more righteous. The world will be more righteous, right? For that to happen, all the colors get to come together in the rainbow, all the paths, all the journeys, so to speak. And we have, on this earth, we've had about 5 or 6 major mega religions, right? And others where there's not just like one, like we're talking generation upon generation upon generation upon generation that have lived, died, and learned love through that language. I think love's the common language. I think love's the name of the Creator. And I think this era is about, hey, guess what? It's real simple, y'all. We're going to love everyone down to the last T. Right? Trans lives, we're going to love them. And we're going to share wealth. That doesn't mean we're going to share it like free handouts, but we're going to make sure that people have access to it. Because having a wealthy class is always there, right? We just want a wealthy class that will share equitably in a way that people can, right, still have hope. And we'd all be down for that. I know I would be. And then what's so crazy, Craig, is you realize that model for Christians like us is the exact same model of what the church did. It said that they loved one another, shared all things, and had them in common. And you're like, wait, is that the end scene for Earth? I mean, that would be pretty cool. That would be a place I would live and die for, right?
And I love this part. And I think what you're referring to is in Acts, like the 2nd chapter, right?
Yes.
So it's amazing. I love that aspect as well. And again, I see that. That's why I add another angle to it. Right?
Yeah, of course. That's why we're having this conversation. So I love me some Christians, so it's good. You could be Buddhist, and I love you too. And we'll figure out how that flows from Buddhism. But yeah,
we're gonna figure it out. So the angle that I just want to add to that is like within the church, absolutely. The church, the church founded on Jesus' life, His death, His principles, His resurrection. Started on Acts, the 12 apostles that followed Him, blah blah blah. Everybody's in that church. They did have all things common. They did have people that sold and take care of one another. That aspect was there. Meanwhile, though, there was still the world as a whole outside of the church that didn't live by the same principles. And it would have been challenging to expect the world as a whole to live by the same principles, because the example was to be that the church was the example of the best way to do it, right? So in my view, as reading and studying, there's not going to be a worldwide movement where everybody's operating on love yet. That's way down the road. In the meantime, there's supposed to be a group that's supposed to be an example of what it's supposed to look like. And that example is supposed to be the light that shows everybody else. Like going back to the bad energy pushing everything apart, that creates a very dark time, creates despair, it creates hopelessness, it creates unrest, it creates distress, depression, blah, blah, blah. That's dark, like being in midnight with no lights,
fear,
all the power around the city, fear, 100%.
Anti-God, yeah.
And so that requires, in order for people to have hope, if you're on the sea, you're looking for a lighthouse. Why? There's light. In order for people to have hope, they need to see a light. Hence, a city that's set upon a hill that cannot be hid. Why? Because the light is there. But why is that light there? My disciples, by the love they have one to another. How are they treating one another? What is that experience like? No person left behind. People aren't hungry. The stranger's taken care of. The widow's taken care of. The orphans are taken care of. Everybody's provided for in that environment. And that becomes an example to the world as a whole until such time then it becomes the nature of the whole world. But it has to start with a few. Even
No, it does. And I actually think, I truly believe this. Now, this is my own view of the world. I believe that, I really do believe that the riches go to the righteous. I believe that there are righteous, good people who have seen that they've got to fight for their values through business, not just right by talking about it. So they've amassed wealth because they have values, right? And they care about those values. And they're correct. If they didn't amass that wealth, no one would be protecting those values. But that's happened in every tribe. In the Jewish tribe, in the Christian tribe, in the Hindu tribe, in the Buddhist tribe, there are those who are preserving, right, love, so to speak.
yes,
They're preserving what's good. And so we do need something that shifts that group and says, hey, we're all on the same team, y'all. We're all on the same team. We're all on the team humanity, right? And
right.
so I am hopeful. And the reason I'm not thinking it's a far way out, Craig, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because this is happening all over the globe. The division is felt all over. And I
Mhm.
do know that for AI to be successful and not destroy us, it will take a global coordination amongst those who are creating it and working in it, because I think it'll become so capable of hurting. Right? Just imagine the ability to train humans to believe something that isn't true. Well, if your AI is supporting that concept, you now brainwash an entire tribe of a whole city of people, right? I mean, the possibilities are pretty negative on one side, and on the other side, you're like, hey, I could have someone help coach someone out of a sociopathic behavior because they now have an AI bot that helps them out of that. So anyway, this is a great conversation. Any other thoughts you want to add to this, Craig, before we switch to our last two questions?
Great. Oh, okay. Well, I'll just add these. I'll add this thought, right? Because this is a great conversation. It's very important that we have it. And I think from a richest standpoint in humanity, and I love the place from which you're coming from, believing that all the riches go to the righteous. But I don't know if I can 100% co-sign that check.
Not yet. Not yet.
Very true, not yet. But what I will say is that you reap what you earn, and efforts generate outcomes on one part, right? At the same time, all efforts to generate outcomes are not equal in moral weight. And the reason why I say that, I'm going back to the early 1900s, the early 1800s, when we had the robber barons, 1900s. They literally called them robber barons because they would do anything to make a buck, child labor, people to trust, antitrust with what's that fellow's name? Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt,
Yeah.
because of how much they were consumed by their own greed, right?
Mhm.
Now they had all the riches. Like I think J.P. Morgan loaned the United States government money to get them out of debt. How does a citizen have enough money to get this government out of debt? And the government now owns the city. Lord, that's crazy. But anyway, I digress. I'm just saying that it didn't necessarily mean he was righteous because he had more money. He was gifted to making money.
Mhm.
I think there's a different aspect with the righteous, those that are doing things correctly, that have the money. That's a different responsibility, right? To whom much is given, much is required. I think Spider-Man said, "With great power comes great responsibility." So as you get that responsibility of not only having an elevated mind, enlightenment, you have a spiritual governor that prevents you from acting a fool. When you have money, your wealth is going to impact others differently than someone that's just trying to amass wealth to consume it so they can spend it. Look what I have. Am I not great? Let me go buy some more stuff. Oh, I'm awesome. I'm chill. No, what money's a tool to be used. And if you can benefit others, I'm thinking that's what it is. You can only sleep in one bed at a time, drive one car. I mean, how many shoes do you need? I digress. So that's all I wanted to add to the conversation.
Right, right. No, it's a great conversation, and to be very clear, I agree 150%. It's not. I'm not saying that all rich people are righteous.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's very important. And it's a good call out, right? It's very important to realize that the righteous can be rewarded with riches to continue to protect righteousness, and
100%.
and there are some of them out there, and that's important for us to remember in all of this world that we're in, because I think we're being tempted to vilify even the great rich people.
Yes.
And there are those amongst them that are good, just like there are those amongst them that are good in every tribe. Um,
Great.
so let's talk about a little bit of a different direction here. Beautiful. I love this conversation. Craig, tell me about something, tell the audience something about your current business as you're working with people. Give us something vulnerable about that experience so that we know that you're just also just a human who's a human being.
All right. So my epiphany, revelation, and understanding that this is what I'm supposed to be doing with the business really came out of the catering, because so many of our friends said, I wish you had no conversations, right? And I would have conversations, drop a nugget, and said, man, that's great. To me, it's just, okay. It didn't seem like that was massive, but it was very impactful for them. And basically just came down to, you probably picked on the accent. My father's from Louisiana, and his method of discipline involved a lot of lectures, hence my accent, because I had a lot to learn. And in those lectures, there were many of these random sayings that don't worry that the horse is blind, load the wagon. Don't make money, don't make sense. You know, don't, if you got a job, don't make money, you got a hobby. This stuff's like in my head deep. And someone will say something like a function box. One of these things will pop up. I'd say it and it'll be true, or
Yeah.
even repeating, right? Now, I know this is what I'm supposed to do. But as I was transitioning from the catering to get this off the ground, it's been a slow takeoff, right? I'm like, oh, but, build it, they will come. Everybody's coming. Anybody coming. You got to put in the work. You got to understand why they need to come. And finally getting the clarity. It's been like a year and a half, getting the clarity around the messaging. Like, and that's why it's so simple now. Getting the owners off the field into the owner's box. I haven't seen one football coach playing on the team. I don't see them on the field. And Jerry Jones and Al Davis, we'll see how that's going. I'm just saying, most of them stay in the box and let the team do what they do and celebrate. And that's where business owners should be when they become an entrepreneur. And where that's been a long journey, I've always known that's what I need to do. People may not see it and they question it from the outside. And if you listen to the outside noise, right, it will cause you to that will cause you to have the imposter syndrome if you believe the outside noise. But on the inside of every human, you have a truth tuning fork. You know your truth. You know it. Stop lying. Stop ignoring it. When you hear it, follow it. I mean, even if you're crazy as a roll lizard, follow it, because we need you to show everybody else what crazy look like so we can be normal. I'm just saying.
I love that. Well, hey, I want to thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. I hope you all have enjoyed listening to Craig and I banter back and forth. These are not small conversations. They're so important, and they are the things that connect us. The bigger questions they're a joy to answer and postulate over. So, again, I will recommend to you all check out Common Sense, commonsenserevenue.com. That's like it sounds, commonsenserevenue.com, and you can learn more about everything that Craig does. Craig, thanks so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Till next time, you all.